Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hey, it's John here with my trusted partner, Matt Pickett, and our very special guest tonight, super fan, Emma. Emma, hi.
Yay, Emma's here.
Yay.
Emma's here. And I barely got a chance to say hi to Emma because we just went live. It's halftime. Hope you're all enjoying the game. How you feeling about the game so far, Emma?
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good. And I was all hopeful. It's probably my fault. I allowed myself to get hopeful because we won last week. And I was like, you know what? We can do it again. And yeah, I mean, we still can. There's still another half left. But that first half did not look good. Did not look like we can.
Well, I mean,
Right.
the defense is mostly doing really well, like making the Titans really have to work for their points and stop that one drive. But the offense has to help them out a little bit. Let the defense rest for a minute, please.
Oh man, that long, what was the over 10 minutes that the D was on the field, and they did their job, man. They did their job. They stopped them.
Yeah.
And then what was it, 5 seconds, and they had to be back on the field again. It was
Pretty
terrible.
much. It wasn't
Man,
great.
it's just not nice. Just not nice.
For me, though, I mean, there's still another half left, and I feel like, given what we saw last week, and given what I saw in person last week,
I know.
it was
Fancy.
I still feel very encouraged that they could make it, and like the touchdown they got, in this in the first quarter, I think it was, right? Man, that was awesome. I love Christian Watson so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about Christian Watson a lot tonight, just so you know.
That was
Heads up on that.
good. I mean, it's those little plays like that where you're like, yeah, we can do it. And we know, being Packers fans, that they can easily be very Jekyll and Hyde a game. Like the first half, bad. Second half, really good. Or vice versa. So there obviously is hope. As the phrase goes, a lot of ball game left.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's just, it's just like needing to see it, wanting to be hopeful, but not gonna believe it until they start doing it, hopefully in the second half and putting it together, and no intentional grounding, no fumbling, keep having the ball punched out of your arms.
So thankful we didn't have a
Absolutely.
safety there. I was like, oh no, that was so cool. Or a pick six. I was just like, oh,
That was a nerve-wracking part. That was a terrible part. I didn't like that part.
Well, tell us, how was your week, Emma? The week's a little short football-wise because we've gone from Sunday to Thursday this week in the football world. But what about the rest of your life? How's your week going?
The rest of the week was good. Normal week, like you said, it was short. For some reason, it just was not paying attention. And then I don't know if it was Sunday or at some point, on Twitter or during the game, somebody was like, "Oh, and then we're playing on Thursday." And I go, "What?
Yes.
We're doing what?"
Yes. Exactly.
Like,
and Maddie, Maddie got to go to the game on Sunday. Maddie, we want to hear everything. And I just realized my life was not, so I'm going to reach and do
Well,
that.
I'll tell you kind of the medium. I'll tell you the medium version because it would take too
give
long.
us a play-by-play, please.
Yeah, everything. You want to know everything.
I'll
so
hit
you
the
woke
highlights.
up in the morning and you had breakfast, and then
first I put on deodorant. And then next, that's true. I did. So I left home Saturday very early. Rolled out of here about 8:30 or so. Got to Lambeau by 4 o'clock and did like the Hall of Fame, which is overwhelming and cool, but like a lot to take in.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame is
Spent some time doing some impulse purchasing in the pro shop, and then did a tour of the stadium, which if anyone out there hasn't done that, and if you go to Lambeau, that was my first time there, of course, highly recommended. It was awesome just being able to see all the stuff. I've got some really great pictures. My new pictures on Twitter for both my profile and my background thing are both from that tour.
I love that.
So that was awesome. Great tour. After that, tried to go around the Titletown district to find someplace to eat, but everyone was like 2 hour wait. So I had to get some stuff from like Walmart anyhow for like to be warm enough for the game. So I was like, you know what? I'll just go to the Walmart and find something near there. And I stopped at Chili's, which is super like generic for a trip to Green Bay, but whatever. It's what was available.
You needed
so
to.
then you know,
I've done that. I don't want to interrupt your story, but I can tell you about doing that at a similar time.
Just that's how it works out sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing is, like going to a Chili's in Wisconsin, you can have a nice spotted cow, you know, on tap along with your food. So
right.
There's that. I did find out later though that I had missed an event at the distillery that a bunch of Packers Twitter friends were at. So it was sad that I missed that. But spoiler alert, I got to meet a bunch of them the next day. So now we're on Sunday. Got up, got ready, got some Quick Trip for breakfast, which is also like a fun thing to do.
It's a Wisconsin thing, for sure.
I think it's so funny that like that seems like such a cool thing to do.
I know.
Whereas like people in Wisconsin are like, okay, yeah, like, that's not a thing here. I can't do that here. So Todd Varney came and picked me up and drove me to Lambeau from my very cheap no-tell motel murder hotel that I was at in Neenah, Wisconsin, where I did my student teaching actually.
Oh, cool.
So Todd picked me up and his friend Alex, who is awesome, was with. Alex's cousin and his wife were along with. And then we picked up Cecilia Diaz, who many of you might know from Twitter as well. She was visiting a friend, so we picked her up and all of us drove up to the game. We were at a place called the Gate, I think is what it is. It's like two houses that these guys own, and they do kind of like a party across both of them, which is amazing. And so there was like this, like they have like a heated part. It's like a garage with like the plastic like dividers. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you go to like a beer cave and you go through like the big plastic things, keeps the cold in.
Yeah.
This is like keeping the warmth in. So went in, we're hanging out in there, and then Jason Perone and Jacob Westendorf showed up. So I got to like hang out with them for a while.
Was that in Green Bay? Is that in Green Bay? Sorry to interrupt, but are we in Green Bay now?
Sorry,
Okay.
I was being really vague there. Yeah,
sure.
it was in Green Bay, like within view of the stadium. Like
right there.
I mean, most things are in Green Bay, but it's like right there. So man, look at the Grassi Posse showing up in the comments. Hey guys, thanks for sending them over, Tom. Appreciate it, man. That's so nice.
Oh my gosh, I'm missing the comments.
So love you guys. Love all you guys.
I think YouTube is the way to go. I love it. Hey, how's everyone doing with the raid? Your kitty goes meow. Hey,
love this.
My goodness, so many comments here. That's great. Okay, well, hi everyone.
Let
us
know
how you're doing for halftime, and then Matt. Sorry, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's right.
So many comments.
That was hi. Awesome. Hi to Tom.
Yeah.
This is cool. All right. So anyhow, then I was gonna go meet Aaron Alice over at the distillery. So I walked over, to the other side of the field from there. Met up with her, got to hang out with Aaron for like an hour and a half, which was awesome. Walked over to the game with her, and then my seat was way up in the 700 section. So it was like a great view, but like, really far away.
Sure.
Watched most of the game from up there. Oh, and this is so weird. The woman I was sitting next to, like we're starting to chat a little bit because that's what Wisconsin's like. And she's like, "Oh yeah, where are you from?" I'm from Cincinnati, but I grew up in Wisconsin in a small town next to Madison. She says, "Oh, I live in McFarland." I was like, "Well, I grew up in Oregon. You probably know where that is yet." And she says, Wait, did you go to Oregon High School? I said, "Yeah." She said, "Are you Matt Pickett?" And I was like, "What?" I'm Maria. I was in marching band with you. I'm like, Maria Malepsky? Oh my God. So how does that even happen? How does that even happen? It's crazy.
It is. I love it.
So into the third quarter, Todd texted me to say, "Hey, we got an extra seat down here at the bottom, because they're like down really close to the field." So I caught the end of the game down there. And
nice.
So again, that was my first time at Lambeau. So when you watch the game on TV or on your phone and they get a touchdown, it's exciting. But when you're there in person and like the energy of the crowd, it's amazing. Like the first touchdown was really cool, but then everyone after that got even better. And at the end of the game, when Mason Crosby kicked the field goal, like I can't put it into words what it felt like, but we were all screaming and hugging and jumping and running around and screaming some more and just like out of our minds. And I thought Todd put it well. He said games like this make you feel like you could live forever. And that's exactly what I felt. It was like invincible.
That is so great.
And It was amazing. So then we went back to, or like, then we hung out for a while actually. Then I wanted to get a Christian Watson jersey pretty badly actually, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
line at the pro shop was ridiculous. So I was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be from later on too. I'll talk about this again, but did end up ordering one online because I wanted to commemorate the occasion. So then went back to my hotel room. I was hungry because I hadn't really had any lunch or anything like that. Not really, just a bunch of beer does not constitute lunch. So I was like, hey, I'm in Wisconsin, let's go to a Culver's.
Yeah.
So I hit that up, and then the next morning left early and got home safe and sound. So it was amazing. I think that Sunday was within the top 10 days of my entire life. It was just a wonderful time getting to see, hang out with Todd. Not the first time I've met him in real life. And
Oh, he
Todd and I were buddies. So
he
it was good
wasn't
to
at your Cincinnati bar? At your
Yeah,
Packers
I thought you
bar?
met him there.
No, he wasn't. I was saying that wasn't the
Oh,
first
that
time I met him.
wasn't. Sorry,
So,
Okay.
because
yeah, it
your
wasn't.
throat,
Yeah.
your throat, it just sounds terrible.
Oh, I know. My throat's
So
terrible.
you brought home a
so between my
cold.
throat cold. Well, I had a cold going in, but then like driving in a car both ways doesn't help, and then screaming at the game doesn't help.
Yeah,
So
that
a
definitely
lot of
didn't
things
help.
coming together.
Oh,
So I got home safe and sound. It was an amazing day. Top 10 of my
yay.
entire life for sure.
Oh.
I mean, the top 3 I gotta say, like wedding, birth of a kid. So gotta have this top for that. Stand by that. That's not just lip service. I really do believe it. But easily in the top 10. It was amazing.
There were so many things. Of course, I don't remember any of them right now that were going on, and I'm like, I wonder if Matt could see that, like on the sidelines, things that LaFleur did, things like that. Did you?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff I missed. Yeah,
probably
from being
pretty
like way
hard.
up so high, it was like you could see the plays develop really, really, really well, which is amazing. Hey, Tom Grossi, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
We
That's
love
so-
you
so
all.
kind of you.
Thank
That
you
is
for
very
joining us.
cool.
Yes.
I should say for the people who are listening to the audio version of this on Saturday, Tom Grossi sent the Grossi posse to raid the chats here on our broadcast night, and that's so
That
kind.
is so
It's like,
great.
I am touched.
What a
Thank
perfect
you.
night. What a perfect night for that. Wow. Welcome everyone. I'm trying to throw everyone's comments up, but there are so many. I'm having a hard time recognizing everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And meow. So, because the kitty goes meow. That is wonderful. Did you see when Aaron Rodgers kind of went off on LaFleur? Did you miss that? You didn't see that?
Because I was down by the side at that point. I think I was
Ooh.
down like close to the field, and I was like at the end. That drive was ridiculous. I understand why he was yelling at him. It made sense.
No.
I saw that part.
I was like, I wonder if he saw that. I'm so glad you got to go. And what a great first time at Lambeau experience. I mean, could you have asked for anything better? I was practically crying. I was so excited for you.
Aw.
It was so great. So well, I made a special old fashioned for tonight. It's a
Nice.
banana, to commemorate Green Bay Packers playing on Thursday Night Football. And I made it with this Howler Head Monkey Spirit banana whiskey. So it's like a banana old fashioned. It's delicious. I'm just going to say it's delicious. I will send the recipe over. I'm kind of impressed with myself right now. And I kind of feel like maybe we'll need a drink during the second half.
Maybe so. So for the game's putting up here, so I will say to the people who were checking us out here at halftime, appreciate it. Stick around and get to know Emma a little bit. She's amazing, and
Yes.
we just have the game on in the background to unmute
Or
ourselves.
maybe stick around for Dawn and Matt because they're two of the nicest people on Packers Twitter.
Well, let's get
Thanks,
to
Emma.
it. Let's get to part where we talk about Emma.
Yeah.
So Emma, when you as maybe know, if you've listened to our show before, that we usually start out kind of running through our guest's Twitter, which is your Twitter bio. I can't even say Twitter and bio in
Twitter bio.
No, it's just a Twitter. So your Twitter reads Emma at Emma Adela. Am I saying that right? Such a pretty name. My gosh.
Thank you.
Packers owner, of course. The only Christian who hasn't taken the Enneagram test.
The Enneagram.
Enneagram.
I can't say anything on Thursday.
It's hard. It's one of those words you see written a lot but never said.
And don't say it, right. Ben Mikadu looks like an online karate instructor. So let's discuss what this all means because our Arduino bio is so important. So first of all, why haven't you taken that test?
So if anybody's familiar with the Enneagram test, it's a personality test. And it's like, the other tests where you're a color, you're like, oh, I'm blue or green and they have meanings. Or you're I forgot what the ones with the letters are, the I,
Myers-Briggs?
B.
Yeah,
Yes.
Myers-Briggs.
Well, this is similar, but it's numbers, and people are like ones and twos and threes. And I saw it get really popular in different like Christians that I follow on Twitter and on Instagram, kind of on the platforms. And everybody's like, I'm a 2, and it just explains this about me, that about me. And I remember like a few years ago, I was like, well, let me see what this test is like. And the only version I found, you had to like pay to take. And I'm like, I'm not paying to take that. And I also don't care enough about personality tests. So I just thought it would be funny to put in there that I'm the only one who hasn't taken that test. And I don't know if I'm a 1 or a 2 or 3, and what my personality needs are.
How did you say you're a 10?
I said she's a 10. I mean,
perfect 10. That's you. There's a 10. It goes up to 9 on it. It goes up to a 9. Yeah.
I hope.
Okay. Yeah. See, that goes even more than I do.
Those personality assessments are like my stock and trade as a
I had a feeling
exploratory advisor. So we use them a lot with our students. I'm a 2-wing 3.
Okay. See, I've heard that like lingo. I don't know what they all mean. Again, I haven't taken it. So I don't know.
I'm an INFJ. That's my Briggs Myers, right? I know that much. I know that I'm
an ENFJ. So that's why it works, Dawn.
That's why we work out really well. Right. That one's kind of worthwhile, I think. It's not a number. I don't like numbers. Like to be have a number attached to me. Letters are okay, but numbers.
And let me say that I don't mind personality tests, and I think sometimes you can take them and they do help you understand yourself, but some people just make it too much of their personality, like, and I saw that a lot with the Enneagram test, which is kind of why I made the joke. People are like, I'm totally a 2 and this is why I react this way or whatever, and I'm like, okay, no, it's just your personality, like chill.
People are very attached to that, and honestly sometimes we can develop, right? I think sometimes if you're like really willing to, because I didn't even take that Briggs Myers until like a few years ago, so like I'm 61 now, right? So I don't think I'm going to change a ton. I might still, I'm always trying to learn more and all that, but if you take those things too young, do you think that might kind of pigeonhole you a little bit or close your mind on who you might be?
I think that's true of any sort of identity thing of any sort. If you like just buy too much into like a thing about your identity, then you might lose the chance to, or miss chances to like grow and develop. It's true. But I do, as somebody who uses them a lot, I will say that with the Myers-Briggs, it can change over time, but most of those things only really change if you have like a traumatic life event for the most part. But I think also like as your brain develops, as you get to like your early 20s, there are a lot of changes that can happen. Definitely, I think when I was younger, I would have tested as an ENTJ. But now having developed empathy in my early 20s, I think I got better about that. I'm definitely an ENFJ at this point.
Where does the empathy? Is that the F? Feeling? What is the F?
Because F is about like how you make decisions, like feeling versus thinking. So if you're basing your decisions more on like logical thought and not about like how it makes you feel, how it makes other people's feel, then so I'm on the feeling side of that at this point. And there's like Katie Sunderman's in the chat here too. She mentions that she figures out she is, but she's the same as me. We have the exact same personality type.
That's right. You two are just basically the same person, right?
Basically the same person. It's true. And you have a show with both of us, which is hilarious.
Let me see if I can find Katie in the hundreds of comments here.
That's why she has a show with both of you, because she knows it'll work.
That's true. I have a show with, I don't know what I am, but I'm Matt.
true.
I love it. Okay, so that. Oh, and Casey says yes. F is feeling, and Casey also
This feeling.
agrees.
Mhm.
Take the Myers-Briggs personality test.
Yeah, it's
I
worth it.
endorse that one. Yeah.
I will say too that, you
Ooh.
know, because we use this at my job so much, and
Mhm.
I took a lot of them in my late 30s. I actually like got to know myself better from doing these things and reading up about them and like looking into them. So I do
Mhm.
recommend a lot of these things.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, back
Those are
to
just
the
caught a first
Twitter.
round.
Oh,
Woo.
sorry. Back to the Twitter. Okay, so now we understand that. And I don't think I've ever said the word enneagram. What is it?
Enneagram.
Enneagram. What does that even mean? Like, what is enneagram?
I don't even know. I don't know how it got the
It's
name.
Greek. It's Greek or something. I don't know.
Okay. Who's Ben Makadu?
Ben McAdoo
McAdoo.
was the former coach of the Giants 4 years ago. Before they have Daboll now. Then they had I forgot who before him, but he was like 2 coaches ago, and he's now I think an offensive coordinator somewhere. But that is a reference and a shout out to the Dan Le Batard show with Stu Gatz, if anybody's familiar. That was a radio show on ESPN for quite a while. It's now solely a podcast. And they have a game called the Looks Like Game. And they make their own. And then a lot of times fans submit jokes where they take somebody in sports and they say they look like something. And this one is one of my favorites. They said Ben McAdoo looks like an online karate instructor. So he looks like somebody who would teach you karate online.
That's hilarious.
And I love that. So I put that in there as like my shout out to the show. My other favorite, I will show that, is Greg Popovich looks like the guy at the nursing home who bites people. And every year they do a tournament that runs consecutive to the NCAA tournament, and so they do a bracket, and they have them head off, and they represent actual teams. So the winner is decided by who actually wins and what lookalike they're attached to. And that won a couple years ago, the Greg Popovich. So that is what that means. So if you listen to that podcast, you'll get it.
Get it. Who does LaFleur look like? I mean, not who, but what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not an
I don't
online
think I've heard any for him. I mean, I know he's been the coach for a few years now, but I don't know. I don't think I've heard any about him. You could certainly make them. I mean, we all know he looks like an LL Bean model.
Right. Right. That's a good one. Or something else.
Like I remember, yeah, work on that and let me know. Because there was a photo a couple years ago. I think it was his first year coaching where he was getting on the plane and he had this really nice jacket on and it looked like something at a Land's End or LL Bean.
I have to think about that. I know my fashion pretty well, so I'm particular about which brand he would be. I'm not thinking LL Bean, or because that's a little bit more East Coast generic loafers kind of thing. I don't see him quite like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to work on that. So, okay. So Emma, do you live in Wisconsin? What are you, a Wisconsin Packer fan, or are you a somewhere else Packer fan?
I am a somewhere else Packer fan.
Ooh.
So I born and raised in Florida.
That's right, because of the hurricane.
Yes.
You were just dealing with the hurricane. I remember that. Okay.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I wanted to do a callback for all the fellow regular listeners of Hey, We Like Your Pod. A couple of weeks ago, I think when Katie was on, who's popping up in the chat, you talked about things that you learned while watching Hurricane Ian. And you learned about the wobble factor of a hurricane.
That's right.
I wanted to let you know that there is a real thing called the cone of uncertainty. And if you ever look up a hurricane, like if you go to NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Hurricane Center, and that's where you should find your hurricane tracking information.
Not on Twitter.
They will show you a path, and they'll put little dots like, it'll be here Tuesday at 2, here, Wednesday at 2. And then they have this kind of white cone around it. And that's the area where anywhere in that cone, the eye of the hurricane can be. So they think it's going to go in this path, but they're letting you know, like, it actually could shift and be anywhere. And it's called the cone of uncertainty.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful name. It could like be filled with the little emoji going like that.
It should. It should just, they should give you the map and just a bunch of shrug emojis like, we think it's going to go here, but it could also go here. And that you kind of saw with Ian, because for quite a while they thought it was going to hit Tampa, and then it ended up hitting a few hours south.
Yeah.
But again, those whole areas were in the cone of uncertainty.
I love that. I should get a cone. You know how little animals have to wear cones, like if they've had a procedure done so they don't bite on them? I should get one for my head and just wear it all the time because I'm a very uncertain person. I never know what's going on. Oh, right. So how did you become a Packers fan way down there in Florida?
Oh, so I am born into the fandom. My dad is from Wisconsin. Okay. And he grew up a Packers fan. My mom moved to Wisconsin to attend UW, where she met my dad, and fell in love with the state and the culture. Aww. And became a Packers fan, which really worked out for me because my mom is from New York. Her father was a Jets fan. Oof. So maybe in some weird alternate universe, I'm a Jets fan, but thank God I'm not. And then eventually my parents moved down here for my dad's work, and my brothers and I were born here, raised here, and raised to be Packers fans.
Brought his common sense with him. Yes.
That's right.
Yes, of course.
I have to say, I really think Amazon is doing a great job with their pre-game show and post-game show and all their coverage on Thursday Night Football. So not that they need it, but shout out to Amazon, because sometimes those shows are really but it was really neat because I'm all the way out here in California. I grew up in Wisconsin, but I've been gone a long time, and over 40 years. And I just, it's really neat to see the snow. It's neat to see Lambeau Field. It's just neat to see the neighborhood, all of that stuff. So they might have even shown the twin house or whatever you called that, Matt. The
twin house?
What did you call it?
Oh, the place
house you tailgated at?
The gate.
Oh, the gate. Okay.
Is what it's called, yeah.
But it was like two houses.
Yeah, it's like two houses, and I think it's called the gate because, like, if you're looking from the backyard, from the front yard forward, it's like it looks like a gate, kind of like looking out at Lambeau Field. Oh, we got a field goal.
Oh, I'm not.
Yes, I was just going to say shout out to Mason for the field goal.
Yay!
Emma.
Oh, Jay's here. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Okay. So that's good to know. Because we always wonder, origin stories and things like that. I love that. I love those stories. So, okay. So one of the things we love to, and by the way, so back to this. So you're an avid Packers fan, but you live in Florida. Yes. So any other teams, any other sports? What's your second favorite NFL team if you have one? And any other sports you're crazy about?
I don't. I take sports like I take my religion. I'm a monotheist. I pick one and I stick with it.
Yeah.
So I have one football team. It is the Packers. I will say that I very kind of on the outside root for college teams. So obviously I always hope the Badgers do well. So my parents went, and then I went to UCF, the 2017 national champs. I said it, and that's where I went to school. So I always root for them to do well. Pretty much the sport that I'm into is football. Never really got into anything else. I think it's just because in my house that's what my parents were into. They didn't really follow baseball or basketball. I kind of feel like with the way the Packers season is going, I might want to become a Milwaukee Bucks fan.
Yes.
And I put that out on Twitter, and our friend Robin Adams and Jay here in the chat said that it's not too late for me in the season,
right.
that
No,
I
it's
can
not.
go ahead and jump on the bandwagon.
It's never too late.
I will say that a couple years ago, when the Bucks did win the final, that fall, I was in Milwaukee and I stopped by the Pfizer Forum for the first time
Oh, fun.
and took a picture of the banner. So I feel like I'm getting there. I'm gonna try to become a Bucks fan. It's only I only say try because I'm not used to the schedule of basketball when they're on like any night,
Oh, right,
at
right,
any time.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
that's not what
Yeah.
I'm used to. I'm used to, it's Sunday, Monday, Thursday.
right.
So-
Same time every week.
So you mentioned being in Wisconsin. Do you have like family in Wisconsin still, or?
I do. So a lot of my dad's family, my dad and his sister both live outside of Wisconsin, but
Mhm.
kind of the rest of the family, lots of aunts and uncles and cousins still live in Wisconsin. So usually every fall, he and I, and sometimes one of my brothers will go up and visit. We were actually just up there this past September.
Okay.
So my dad grew up outside of Milwaukee, in a small town called Heartland, and so we still have some family in that general area, and then we also have some people up near Green Bay, about an hour outside of Green Bay, and then we always go to Green Bay because I I demand that. I'm like,
You may
we have to put it. We're putting one day aside to go to Green Bay, so I can go through the Hall of Fame that I've been through multiple times again.
Again.
I
And
love
just be in
visiting.
Lambeau.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love to visit in October. Do you ever go in October when the leaves are changing?
No, I really, one of these days I really do want to go up in the fall, winter,
Right.
and just
Well, not winter.
experience
but-
that because, well, that's the thing is like, as
Yeah.
a Floridian, like we don't have like actual seasons. We just have really hot, not so hot, chilly, not so hot, and then we're back to hot.
Yeah.
And so, we don't have like the leaves changing. It doesn't get very cold. I mean, I've been up north a couple times in the winter, but I've only been around snow once. And so that's why I say kind of the winter and just experience fall. And I'd love to go up there again and actually go up there for a season game. I've been to a couple preseason games at Lambeau, which were very fun. Preseason games are still fun, but I do want to experience it in a regular season game, and in the cold. Like I feel like that's every Packer fan has to do. They have to go up in like October, November,
Mhm.
maybe even December, and really experience a game
Mm.
where it's cold and you're sitting on those metal benches.
Yes.
And they're hard and uncomfortable
So
and you're
cold.
freezing, but you're gonna do it because you have to root the Packers on
I
the
know.
victory.
I think
Well,
because
I can check that off for myself then already.
Yeah,
So
you
I'm good- I'm
Yeah,
good to
you've
go
done
for
that, Matt, so you can check that off. That's great.
did you bring a little pillow or something to sit on to keep your butt warm?
Well, so the section I was at way up at the top, the seats are like the actual seats, are not bleachers. So that was like the one advantage of being way up there.
Oh, okay.
But when it did come down for that last quarter, yeah, I was sitting on like the cold bleachers for that.
You
Yeah, I
Oh,
can,
we're mostly standing.
I don't
you
understand
can
why
when
they
you're
have
there,
pictures.
rent a seat back.
Yeah,
And I've
yeah. They
done
mentioned
that.
that on the tour. Yeah, they said that was the way to go for like $15, whatever, for the rental, because that way you
Yeah,
have
it
something
is
to like lean
definitely the
against
way
and
to go.
you got a cushion there. So yeah, no, if I had seats like down on the bleachers, I definitely would have gone for that for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care about the leaning against, just the cold seat. Like that would
Cold
be
butt.
cold, but
Yeah. The cold
I
butt
haven't
and
been.
like,
Yeah, and hands and everything else. I haven't been to those like a cold game since I lived in Wisconsin. I mean, I've been to a game, but it was a preseason. It was September. It wasn't cold, so I could handle that. But then I forgot about the bleachers and how cold. Like I think that was kind of I mean, I like how they did it and all that, but I don't know. I can't handle much weather variance either these days since I've been out here so long. It doesn't vary very much. So the few times I would go back in the winter, I mean, I couldn't function. I couldn't function. Did you see who is that? One of the announcers today, or one of the halftime show guys? He's a football player, and he's like, he couldn't talk because his mouth and his everything was frozen. That's how I get.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh.
I mean, he was only a couple minutes in. He's the receiver. I forgot what his name is. Sorry about that. But yeah, he was so cold, and he can't handle cold. Some people just can't, you know. So anywho, cool. I love it.
So
I love it. I love it. I
some
love
quick
it.
tips actually that I got from Tailgate, you know, friend of the show.
Yes.
What I did, and I was totally fine the whole time. I was warm. Was obviously layers are important, but the one of the big ways how you get cold is if your feet get cold, it's all over. You're done.
Everything else.
So
Yeah.
she recommended
Mhm.
these insoles that are like felt on one side and like this like space age polymer. It looks kind of like aluminum or something on the other side. Kept my feet extremely warm. Plus, I was wearing like my winter boots with Gore-Tex and like my thickest socks. But those insoles made a huge difference. And then just like dumb hand warmers you can get like anywhere. So I had a hoodie on as one of one of my layers, and so having like the hand warmer things inside the pocket in the front of the hoodie,
Oh, nice.
it was amazing. It was perfect.
What is a hand warmer exactly?
Oh, it's like
Is it
a
electric or something?
thing that has fairy dust in it, and you open it up
Okay.
and it gets hot, and it stays hot for like 10 hours. You got one in both hand, and it's amazing. And that way too, you don't have to have gloves on because you can like take out your phone more easily and like take pictures or whatever else or look things up without like take off a glove and do that. So yeah, it was clutch.
Great
Big tips from Kate.
Pro tips there. Awesome. By the way, Katie did weigh in. She said she wouldn't mind being a Jets fan with Saleh as coach. I like Coach Saleh. I like Coach Saleh.
He's handsome.
He's just great though, his personality and everything. I liked him as much as I didn't want to when he was the defensive coach for the 49ers. I know. Yep. I said it. Yep. I said it. I was like, he's great. I hope we get him on our team. But now he's with Matt LaFleur's brother over there in New York. So, oh well. Cool. Okay. So one other question we'd love to ask our guests is one thing that you absolutely love about Packers Twitter and one thing you would change if you had the power to do so.
So I will say that what I love about Packers Twitter is getting to connect with other Packers fans. Very obvious, duh. But as somebody who doesn't live in Wisconsin and
good point,
can't just easily like, you know, walk up to somebody and go, "Oh, you're probably a Packers fan."
Right.
Now I have very strangely met quite a few Packers fans very randomly because we do get a lot of people up north move down here because they get tired of being cold.
Right.
But it's not. We're the vast minority of people here.
Right.
Are Packers fans. You know.
Right.
And so I really enjoy being able to connect with other fans and then just learn from all the great people who create great content that teaches me, because I feel like I've learned a lot more in connecting with all the different places, like all the shows on Game On Wisconsin, watching the Pack a Day podcast and Cheesehead TV, just because you know, they teach you all these things where when you're watching the game, and no offense to the broadcasters, but they don't really tell you exactly what's going on, and they don't like teach you. They don't really say, you know, hey, this isn't working. Maybe this team should start doing this, or this was the, this is what happened. This is what went wrong, like all those kinds of things. And then even to get somebody to kind of break it down for you later, and then especially with it being very Packers specific Twitter, you're also learning more about the team itself, like who's who, all the players names, because it's hard to pay attention during a game. You know, what's the number on the jersey, what's the name on the jersey, I don't know, I can't see, and who's the coordinator of this and that, and what happens during the week and all that stuff. So I just feel like what I love about it is you get to connect with people and you get to get more informed.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. There's so many ways to learn things from all the great content creators out there. And it's so easy to access. And that's definitely why I checked out Packer's Twitter in the first place, years back. I just wanted to like get more information about stuff. And I was like quickly, in fact, Dusty was one of the first people who I came across there. I was like, oh, this guy is putting some cool stuff out there. I can check this out and learn some stuff. And I'm obviously connecting with people. I love that. Like as Jay said, as Jay Zotniak said in the chat there, one thing to love about Packer's Twitter is Emma. That's right.
Emma. So what do you have a favorite like go-to for who have you learned the most from? Do you think, if you can?
Ooh.
That's a lot, I know, but that was an extra bonus question for our guest.
Put me on the hot seat. Who's your favorite child?
So many. Yeah. Who's your favorite child? Exactly.
I will say that I do love the bits of wisdom that I learned from watching Lombardi's Bar. And of course they're during the week, so they're like post-game analysis. And I also love that, especially when it's like we've like this stream of losing, you can go and just somebody will vent with you about it.
Yes.
I will also say this, that what I have found helpful is having somebody that's doing a live stream like during the game. Like I like to watch the Cheesehead TV watch party because I like to have somebody on who's not just saying like, oh, this is kind of happening in the game, but I just saw the touchdown.
I'm about to see it.
I couldn't help it. I'm like,
yes.
I'm
I
like
agree,
a minute behind you guys. That's crazy.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. But
your favorite,
just
Maddie.
Again, like to my point about, I think this season is a good example where the offense was just not doing what it needed to do. They're having problems. And I know that not everybody thinks running the ball is the answer. I know there's going to be people in the comments going, no, that's not right, whatever they think. But it was just interesting while you're watching the game to hear people commenting and going, this passing isn't working. He's off, or the receivers can't catch it, or blah, blah, blah. And you have these two great running backs, so use them. And now Matt has seen the touchdown.
That's awesome. I love Christian Watson so much. Lambeau leap.
And it's just those details like that are like not just about the game, but like Packers specific. So now I feel like I know more about what they've done in the game, how they're doing, like what they did well, what they didn't do well. So I really like that because they give you all this information, whereas and we got the 2-point conversion.
I was wondering if they go for 2. I was hoping they would.
We have this.
We always say this, and then Matt doesn't know. Sorry, Matt.
I don't have to worry now. I can just watch in excitement.
Yes, that's the great thing is when you have like a live stream on of somebody and they're like 10 seconds ahead of you, then you don't have to be nervous. They'll tell you, oh, they made it. And you're like, okay, we're going to make it. I can watch this and be excited. But yeah, that's what I've really enjoyed about Packers Twitter is having, a good source of information, not just on football, but on the Packers specifically.
Yeah, for sure. And isn't it more fun like doing it like we're watching the game together tonight, or like you're on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, Matt is somewhere in the between. The great between. The great between.
In a place that doesn't exist. I don't know how he's here.
But we're close enough to Kentucky that we might exist. It's true. But okay. Cincinnati was once the queen city of the frontier. We were once one of the big cities, and then what happened was that we were all about the steamships and like the water travel because we're right on the Ohio River. But then
Dad.
The trains came along, right? And Cincinnati was like, no, we don't need the trains. We got the steamboats. And then Chicago usurped us, and the rest is history, literally. So, yep, that's so Cincinnati to be like winning and then to get to the Super Bowl and then not winning. That kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, that's
very Cincinnati.
so sad. So sad. Well, that's great. That's a very complete answer. I love because everyone has a
Good.
different answer to that. So
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
is, everything. So that's why I love asking that question. It's my favorite question. So what do you think? You guys, do you think we can offer some superlatives for the week?
Yeah. Let's do it. You brought
Mine
some,
are
Emma?
really boring. I'm not
I
sure.
did.
Did
I
you?
brought 2.
Okay. Emma, what are your superlatives?
So my first one is best discussion of Twitter and whatever it is. So as I mentioned before with my Twitto, that I made a reference to the Dan Le Batard show. They are a podcast. Every Thursday they have one of their episodes is called. So let me backtrack. So when the show left ESPN, Dan Le Batard created his own company called Meadowlark Media. And I say this because the special episode that they come out with every Thursday is called The Meadowlarkers. And it's a discussion usually between Amin Al-Hassan, Howard Bryant, and Kate Fagan, who are all sports writers and analysis, former ESPN people. Basketball and baseball are kind of what most of them cover. And so they always have a discussion on a topic, kind of a long form discussion. And last week they talked about Twitter. And it was interesting because they talked about it from their point of view as people in the media and people who needed to promote themselves or promote what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And they made this really good point that I've heard before, which is not as many people use Twitter as we think use it. Mm-hmm. We think, that Twitter kind of runs the national discourse, if it's trending on Twitter, everybody must be talking about it. But that's not true. The thing is with Twitter is that a lot of the news breakers are on Twitter. That's where it's easiest for them to share news. And this isn't even just the Adam Schefters or the Wojs, but even actual news networks, like NBC, the New York Times, the Post, reporters. You'll see when something happens that there's always a ton of tweets from all these outlets. And so we think if it's on Twitter, it's what everybody's talking about, but it isn't really true. And just how they feel about the change in Twitter with the new owner, and what they think the future is. I thought it was very interesting. So Howard Bryant ended up getting rid of his Twitter because he felt like Musk bought it with very nefarious intentions. Al-Hassan kind of made the point of, no, I think he just kind of got pushed into it because he ran his mouth and said, oh, I'll buy Twitter. And then Twitter said, yeah, you will. And so it was just an interesting discussion because it was kind of multi-layered. It wasn't just, what do we think is going to happen to Twitter? It was how they've used Twitter, how they've, their interactions on it, how they started in the beginning where it was very oh, hey, this is what I wrote, to now you're interacting with a lot more people, sometimes arguing with a lot more people. So I just thought it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. Yeah. And the point about not everyone's on Twitter is it's a good thing to remember for people who are so enmeshed in Twitter like we are, because
that's
there's this really amazing, the Packers fan group, the Packer fan, it's the local Packer fan group. It's got a name and I can't quite remember it. Packer fan group of Cincinnati, something like that. So great people. Almost none of them are on Twitter, and it's I'm
right.
oh, you guys see this thing on Twitter or this podcast, this other thing, like we're just here at the bar watching the game, man. And like we talk about it on Facebook, and I'm like, Facebook, man, you guys are like 60. No offense, Don. So it's just like fans aren't all on Twitter, and that's a good thing to remember for sure.
So important. Twitter does not represent even a fraction, right? Of reality.
I forgot how many millions of people, but it's like it's under, I want to say they said it was like under 10 million users. I can't remember how many users are on it, but and again, like, yeah, you can say that about a lot of platforms because we just hit 8 billion people in the world.
Right.
But it's still a good context to have when you go through Twitter, because I think what a positive part of that is when you get on Twitter and you see all the trash that can be on it, and you think, oh my God, like, who are we? Then you realize, oh, this is not the majority of people.
Totally. Right. It's a good reminder. I love that. That's great perspective.
Nice. First one. What else you got? How many said you had 2, right?
I have 2, and this one, total happenstance. Just pure coincidence. My other superlative was the best medicine is laughter would go to Tom Grossi, and that's for the last few Instagram videos that he has had. I have laughed my butt off. The one that's the latest is a takeoff on Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Yes.
Where they're bringing out the dead, and one of them has the Packer symbol, and he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, no, you're gonna be dead in a couple weeks. If you've ever seen that movie, there's that very infamous scene of the bring out your dead, and it was playing off of Roger saying we're not dead yet.
Right.
I laughed out loud when I saw that. I reposted it. Yeah, totally.
Yes, I did too. The other one, so there's 2 others. The other one that I loved was for last week when it was a Cowboys fan and a Packers fan going back and forth, and basically the Cowboys fan was like, this is Mike McCarthy's revenge game, this game's for Dez, like you're gonna lose again, and the Packers fan is kind of like, yeah, and he goes, well, you know what, you can count on us to not run the ball efficiently and not play 4 quarters of football. And the Cowboys fan is like, these aren't good things. And he goes, whose fault is it? Too many to count. And he's like, but this is a sinking ship, baby. I hope you know how to swim. And the Cowboys fan is like, oh. And I'm like, yes, that's it. That's us just ready to sink with the ship.
Yeah. Oh man. And his father's a Cowboys fan. Did he have his dad watching the game when he live streamed it on Sunday? I wasn't watching the live stream. He usually does with Cowboys.
I didn't see it.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. Yeah, his dad's a Cowboy. Grossi Posse's dad's a Cowboy fan, but he's still part of the Grossi Posse. Of course.
And then, yes, and just the very last one, I know there's so too many to choose from. The last one was just it was, so these are all 3 videos in a row on his Instagram. The third one was all these Packers fans, obviously all played by him, arguing with each other. And there was the pro LaFleur guy, there was the pro Rodgers guy. Well LaFleur isn't calling the right plays. Well, Rodgers audibling out of them. And then there's somebody trying to stick up for the defense. And then one of them goes, well, what about you, Joe Barry fans? And it turns and there's nobody there. And then they continue arguing, and the Milwaukee Bucks walk in and go, and then just go, no, never mind, and just walk out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I found all those to be very soothing in this trying time as a Packer fan.
Very trying.
Gotta laugh to keep from crying. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what do you think, you two? Do you think that Sunday's game and actually showing up and not maybe getting slaughtered tonight is enough to carry our hearts on through the rest of the season? We know that it's kind of not
I think if we win tonight, I'm still feeling good about it. I think if we don't, then we would
okay.
have to literally win all the rest of the games, which is a tall order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just hinges on tonight for me. I mean, it's gonna be like that way for every week, literally, I guess, because of where we're at. But for me right now, it's just let's see what happens. We're still in it for sure. We just finished the third quarter, I think. So we're down by
Mhm.
3. So I mean, we'll see.
That's
We'll see.
respectable. I mean, I haven't been watching the game to see how respectable it is or what went wrong or right, but it's respectable. I respect the Titans. You know, they're
Yeah.
well coached.
Yeah.
So I mean, until I watch it later, replay it, I won't be terribly upset just yet. I mean, you know, I'll take that. Oh, we just had a takeaway.
Okay, wait to see that. That's so good. That's
Oh,
exciting because
sorry,
the Titans are
Matt.
driving and they're
I'm
in our
sorry,
I
territory.
have
So
podcast
Yeah,
listeners. We
that
are
was
all sitting
beautiful.
in silence watching our
That sorry,
screens.
great podcast
why
here.
am I
This is
so
why
far
I wanted
behind
to
this
go
weekend?
live. This is
Oh,
why.
yes.
Should I start my superlatives while you guys are getting excited about what's happening on the screen here?
Yes.
Should I go
Yes.
ahead?
Sorry,
You go
Matt. We
for
will
it.
give you our attention.
No need to apologize. No. I was thinking since you're both were stunned for me there, I could kind of pick it up. So I actually ended up with 3 this week.
Wow,
I
with
thought
your
it'd be with a
growth.
short week, it'd be hard to come up with any, honestly, but then like things were just amazing. So I'll
Mhm.
start with my first one. My first superlative is best.
That's best.
Best.
Okay.
And this goes out to Big B. So for those who are familiar with him, our guy,
Oh,
it's his handle Big Packers 4 times, something like that.
yeah.
Well, he's Big B.
Big
Everyone
B.
knows him,
Everyone
right?
knows Big B.
And so Big B is a cancer survivor, and there's the takeaway in the end zone.
I know I make the weirdest noises
Did
when I'm
they
doing this
whistle
because I
dead? Is
can't
he actually
really. I
able to
don't
run
know
now, or is
why
it
I
just
just
be a
don't
touchback?
scream. I just
Wait. Why is Vrabel challenging something?
well,
Or what? He has the
because
flag out. He hasn't thrown it from my
it could have been like
feed.
passing. I can't challenge passing. Oops, I just lost my game. You can't challenge pass interference. So I was like thinking, oh, I hope it's not. But then it was a takeaway, and I was like, I don't know. Oh, go ahead. So
So
B.
so Big B, yeah, had
Ooh.
the Make-A-Wish Foundation, worked with him, and so what he wanted to do was have like basically like a huge Packers weekend. So he got to um go to Lambeau, meet the players, eat lunch with them on Saturday, get stuff signed by Aaron Rodgers, have a burrito with Aaron Rodgers, break the huddle
Break
down in
the
practice,
huddle
just
down.
like just like
Honestly,
all the things. It was just
I love
amazing. It was so
Yeah.
Make-A-Wish.
cool.
I love
And I
Make-A-Wish.
mean,
Yes.
Big B's just the best. And so to see him like get to do all these
Oh,
amazing things, it was so
I
cool.
was
So like just
so emotional watching that. And then having you there, Matt, I was just like, the whole thing was just too much.
so yeah, big props to Big B. I mean, and I think just a good example of just what a great person he is that he was like sharing all these things and like so we could all get excited with him
Yes.
Mhm.
and kind of see those inside things. So that was amazing. So that's my first
So
one.
great.
Second one is best catalyst for love.
Okay.
And so this is Dusty Evely because
Oh, yeah.
going to the game I was like I didn't have strong feelings about Christian
Oh.
Watson, and of course being at the game and seeing him get 3 touchdowns
Mhm.
was definitely made me feel feelings. And then oh, they count as a touchdown. That's too bad. So made me feel some feelings, and then Dusty just drove it home. So he had his video that he did with like I think it was like 18 Christian Watson plays that it was called Christian Watson, and that was outstanding
Oh.
because of course watching the game from not on TV, you don't get all of the nuance or hardly any of the nuance what's going on. So the way how Dusty broke that down is like a 57-minute video. It's absolutely essential watching. So that was kind of part of it.
Yeah.
And then also this week he did a breakdown of stats and developed the Christian Watson drives versus non-Christian Watson drives statistic that with the math showed us that the Christian Watson drives points per drive is 1.9 versus without is 1.24. So a huge differential. So those two things. And then a third thing that Dusty did that really drove it home for me to really just solidify my love for Christian Watson was I had mentioned that I was really excited about the stuff he did and was like thinking about maybe buying a jersey, and then Dusty jumped into the conversation and talked me into it. So the best catalyst for cementing my love for Christian Watson was our guy Dusty.
Dusty needs to get some commission off of that sale.
He should. He talks people into buying things all the time. He should definitely be getting kickbacks on that
Yeah.
for sure.
That's neat. That's really neat. And I mean, and I wasn't sure if you were going to get a Rudy Ford.
I thought about it at first because early in the game he was
Mhm.
doing the great things. Obviously, two picks, but then Christian Watson, man, woof, holy
Mhm.
cow, so good. So, did either of you see any of those things that Dusty had posted? Incidentally,
I haven't had a chance to look at them. I've had 2 days of nonstop. I like practically didn't even sit down until just tonight. So
oof,
yeah, it's
oof,
been busy,
goodness.
busy, busy stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
highly
haven't
recommended.
seen them, but
but
I
it's
did.
on my list
Yeah, I
for
did
sure.
hear his comments on last night's Lombardi's bar.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, so I have one more then, real fast here, and this last one is best analysis of bad news, and this was the breakdown of third round picks that all the teams did for like the last 3 years that Bill Huber did. It was called Amari Rogers personifies Packers third round draft history. So of course this came out after Amari Rogers was cut,
Right.
and of course we have this idea about Gutekunst has been bad in the third round in the draft. Like, let's just give away a third round draft picks. But this was like, okay, we all think it's bad. It's worse than you think it is, because see how like unsuccessful we've been with those picks compared to like all the other teams.
Oh,
And looked at it with like a couple different metrics in terms of like how many starts they've had,
Mhm.
how many it's like adjusted. It was a crazy stat I never heard of. It was adjusted wins per something or whatever. So yeah, it's an amazing analysis and super depressing to read. Recommend it for how fascinating it is, but woof.
Do you guys think that Amari was like not used
Misused.
properly? I hate to say the word misuse, but yeah, not used properly. Is that part of his problem?
I would totally have been for seeing him play receiver more
Yeah.
than he did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I don't even know if we really know that he's not a good receiver. We just know he definitely shouldn't return punts.
Right.
But
For real.
you also have to think that he's such a similar player to Cobb, and Cobb is now back as what was pointed out. I know Dusty again pointed out last night. He might have said this in some other places, but they're such similar players, and you have Cobb there to do that. But Cobb has been out for the past couple weeks, so why not give Amari the chance? And we've been so banged up at that position.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was just
Mhm.
different people going out. With Sammy Watkins hasn't been out. I just, I again, what do I know? They don't pay me to be the GM, but I kind of think it would have been worth just seeing what he could do at wide receiver. Then like, oh hey, he's got some promise.
Mhm.
Let's keep him, and yeah. I think I would have liked that.
Yeah, get him in there. Let him do some Cobb things. See what he can do with that, because that was the idea, anyhow. Seemingly in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and he had a lot of promise, and I was excited about him in the draft. And he was out there a couple of times, and he didn't like drop the ball. So I mean, I kind of felt the same way. It's unfortunate, but I believe he was both pretty successfully in college. So it wasn't like we did him a disservice. It was expecting him to do both, and that was so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, everybody has limitation. Like everyone has their number, I guess, when their number's up, right?
Mm.
It's just a lot of bad. Just got to be a lot of bad. I mean, there's luck involved. There's so many things involved in
Yes.
making it
Yeah,
in
definitely.
any career, but as an NFL player. So yeah, hopefully he'll do well. He's already been picked up. Kylan Hill hasn't been picked up, interestingly. So
Yeah, that's interesting. That is.
Mhm.
But poor
Yeah, I'd say
Murray
just
is in. I was gonna say poor Murray's in Houston.
yep. At least it's nicer weather there. At least there's that. But
Yeah,
Good
it
point.
gets pretty humid there. I mean, yeah. Well, Florida gets humid too. I can't handle.
Oh gosh, yes.
I saw
So humid.
I saw a video of an alligator on a golf course in Florida today that was just so big, and they walk so weird. Like, golly,
Yeah.
I
They're
can't
like
imagine.
modern dinosaurs,
Yeah,
mhm.
you know.
for sure, for sure.
Crazy.
Well, I
Well,
guess we
they are
didn't get that we didn't get that takeaway. I don't know what happened there, but somehow
Yep.
they credited
Not
them
so
with
much.
the.
No,
Okay,
he
so-
caught it and then it got, you could see in the replay, he caught it and then the ball got, I don't know if it was punched out or what, but he was
Yeah.
clearly in the end zone with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
Okay.
It's a bummer. So Don, what do you have for superlatives this week?
Well, my superlatives, let's see where they are. My superlatives might be a little dry. So let's go with it though. It's just a reminder. We're just gonna get a little bit of reminder here. This is
Okay.
NFL legal soapiest soap opera, or maybe most sudsy. I'm not sure. So here, this was kind of cute from Conduct Detrimental on TikTok. They're a podcast I've mentioned before on the show. What do Jeffrey Epstein, the Washington football team, and an Indian newspaper have in common? Well, playing dirty is the answer. But they just mentioned, hey, last year Dan Snyder was fighting his minority owners over the proposed sale of. Now this is interesting. This was last year, okay? Because now you know he's entertaining. Yeah. So last year, just by way of reminder, last year Dan Snyder was fighting his minority owners over the proposed sale of 40% of the Washington football team franchise. He didn't want them to sell it. And he was accused then, kind of anonymously, by having ties with predator Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
But around that same time, Jeffrey Snyder claims that John Moe, who handled the sale for the minority owners, was responsible in part for publishing this article in this Indian newspaper that started the whole gossip thing about him and Epstein, which may or may not be true. So a lot of dirty ball going on, which shouldn't be surprising. So he's suing that paper big time, and it's no small thing, because John Moe, who is responsible for this newspaper, basically, in a summary here, he could go to prison for a couple of years, and he could have over $1 million in fines. So it's a big deal. It's worth mentioning because there's a lot being said about Dan Snyder, but there's also a lot of things that aren't true. So I know that it's just a good reminder for me to be really careful. I mean, I can quote what I'm reading, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end all or the gospel.
Guys, we got to pick.
I was
okay. I'm so glad because we need one.
We got to pick.
I thought that's what I saw out of the corner of my eye.
I think if I read it correctly, I think Erin Alice might be pregnant right now.
Oh my God. Okay.
I think it was Jair. Hold on, I'm watching the.
Well, in the comments,
Amazon?
Jay's saying that it was Rasul. It looks like so.
Okay, Rasul. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't catch it, and then literally, as they're showing the replay, Amazon goes to black to go to commercial.
Yeah, it's on a
commercial. I'm like, no, I need to see who caught it. Thank you, Jay, for pointing out it's Rasul.
Hopefully, the offense does something with it then.
Oh, Watson jerseys are.
Oh,
God, that's so funny.
There it is. I'm seeing it now. Yep. Nice.
Yeah, mine was already in commercial when you said it, but I saw it out of the corner of my eye and I was like, did I just see what I thought I saw? Okay. So just that. I know it's kind of gloomy for a game night, but I'll continue. Because I can always do this next week too. But from Forbes on YouTube, you remember, I think it was last week, that when Snyder said he would entertain some options, he wasn't saying necessarily he wants to sell the whole team, right? So Mike Azanian, I think, from Forbes, who actually was the newsbreaker on that one, he just kind of mentioned that Dan Snyder purchased in 1999 that team for $750 million, and now it's going to go between
Whoa.
6 and 8 billion. So
Wow.
why not sell it? But
Mhm.
he suggests that Snyder might hold on to the option of maintaining a minority stake
Hmm.
with keeping control of the team. So we shouldn't get all excited.
How do you pull that off? How do
well,
you become a minority
you can do
owner?
anything with the control. Like you can get a lot of different investors who don't want to be involved, right? And that would be ideally, if he wants to stay involved, he can.
So you're saying like you find enough people who are like, I want to benefit monetarily from a team, but I don't want to have to decide who the
Sure.
GM is.
Yep.
all
Right,
that
because
stuff.
NFL teams look at the
Okay.
look at the appreciation that he got. We're talking billions of dollars, and then it's just only going up still. So, so that's something to just kind of bang in the back of your mind. So, and then he's also suggesting that owners and Goodell will not push him out. There just really isn't a lot of steam for that. And even they're saying that investment bankers planted some disinformation in the Washington Post about him to help push him along. But he's standing firm as it appears to be. And primarily because he's been successful in this rebranding to the Commanders, right? And also it's a very invested market there, and there's a lot of money there, and that's another reason he probably doesn't want to let it go. So he really is standing firm with that the cultural problems that they had at the organization with behavior toward women particularly, that it's been corrected, and some people really do believe that he's genuine about that. But meanwhile, I just want to mention his testimony to Congress, which was an 11 straight hours deposition, remember?
Damn.
That still remains sealed. It still has not been released.
Yep.
It's still, And with
that and the investigation that the NFL had done of him, the lawyer who went in, I don't believe we've seen that report either.
Well, she's not done, but
that
remains sealed while Goodell's was public, but with the turnover of the House to Republicans, chances are it will remain sealed. However, there's a short amount of time during the transition that it's possible that, like Jamie Raskin or one of the players that would let that fly, but it's not looking very good. So, it's a good point you made too, because so that's a good point. I just wanted to mention that because of the elections just being having taken place, that will have some bearing on what we see and what we don't see. And yes, you're right. Mary Jo White, who is tasked with the second investigation, was only tasked with investigating one kind of particular thing, but it's going, so much time has passed. So there's some conjecture that perhaps she's now either that took legs, kind of organically, or she's now been tasked with looking at some more things. I'm guessing that we're not going to see her report until no one is paying attention, right? No one's paying attention. Yeah. Jason thinks that Amari got the short end of the stick. It kind of seems like, I just feel like he had more. Dan is making my Snyder. I just think that Amari had a lot of promise when it came to the when it was draft time, and draft and develop just didn't apply to him somehow. I don't know what happened there, but it just did not seem like he got that looked like it almost was an interception. There goes Rodgers off the field. Okay. Not looking good. 27-17. If you're listening to our podcast, our apologies for a couple of interruptions here. We're trying to record our podcast during a live. We got raided, and we're watching television at the same time. But that's why you're here for the naturalness of it. So yeah. So any final thoughts? So it's a lot. Just keep paying attention because these things do matter.
Oh
If,
yeah.
if you think if you're in, there's a plethora of. I mean, there's just and then John Gruden's court cases coming up. So there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested in ethics, at any level, and there's a lot to pay attention to. Off season is when a lot of things are going to happen. When a lot of people are just paying attention to the game, they're not paying attention to this stuff. Won't notice, so they'll drop a lot of these things like on Friday nights and things when nobody's paying attention.
Yeah, exactly.
During the off season. So yeah. So any final thoughts for us, Emma? Again, thank you for joining us.
Thank
I love
you
superlatives
so much for having me. I feel so honored that I get to be a guest. This was so much fun.
I
loved it. And I loved getting to meet Dawn and then getting to see Matt again. This was lots of fun.
Yeah. So glad you could join us, Emma. This is awesome.
Yes. And I'm glad that we get to deal with this Packers game together.
We could still win it. We can still win it. A lot of things
not
happen.
over that last set of downs though. Was kind of
it's not great.
No, and I guess they got a holding, and then they were first and 20.
Yep. And then Rodgers can complete some passes that seems like should have been completable. Man, Katie's got it right there. She says, "Can we have Emma every week?" Heck yeah, that'd be awesome.
Series regular.
There you go.
I'll bring my superlatives.
I love it. Well, if I ever need someone to fill in for me, will you fill in for me, Emma?
I'm here for you, Don. Always.
I love it. Awesome. I just have to teach Matt how to drive the ship. Or
how to drive the ship. I don't know how to. It's true. I don't have my ship driver's license.
Drive a ship, or what do you do with the ship?
I think you steer.
You sail it.
Steer
it. Yeah, a lot of steering.
That's it. Steer the ship.
There's a lot of nautical knowledge among us. We can see that very clearly. Like we all know a lot about ships.
I know nothing.
Especially me living on a peninsula. You think I might know, but I don't.
You're surrounded by water. It's true.
True.
All right, Dawn, should I bring it home here?
Bring her home. Bring her home.
All right. Well, of course, I just want to say real fast, Emma, thank you so much for joining us. This was great. Yeah. Friends, make sure you're following Emma on Twitter. That's Emma Adela. That's EMMAADELLA. Did I do that right? Did I get that right? We'll say I did. Okay, so
no,
you're paying attention. Like, cool.
It's already in our show description.
It's in the show.
In the show notes, yes.
And of course, you'll find links in our show description for everyone we mentioned. So please check it out. Whether you're a super fan or content creator, we'd love to have a chance to interview you. So if you're a subscriber, our DMs are open at Hey Willip on all the social platforms. We'd love to hear from you or someone you'd like to nominate to be a guest on our podcast this year. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, like all of the wonderful Grassy Posse people, I think did tonight, which is just overwhelming.
So they better all be subscribing.
You help
all
us.
These raiders.
They are. They said they were.
Subscribe button.
I love it.
So great, so great. We need to send Tom Grassi a fruit basket or something. So when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie, that's right. And we love you. We're so glad to know you and to be fans of you and have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod. And we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.